how that whole piece of Lego series play can bring psychological safety.
Always have to tell them the end in mind. Like, this isn't just play for play's sake and for fun and well-being or whatever, which all of that is very useful. But I go in with, I want an outcome. I want you to have an outcome. I want the people in the room to have an outcome. So I think that's the first step. I think you have to connect it.
Have you ever experienced unlocking an aha moment in a leadership or a strategy session? What is there anything?
Play is, what I'm trying to do is not get you to my aha moment. I'm trying to get you to your aha moment. And that person next to you, they can have their own aha moment, Einstein moment, or that Steve Jobs moment where it's like, brilliant. But what creativity actually is, it's like this groundswell of all these mini moments, mini aha moments that come together. And so that's what I'm trying to create when I do my sessions.
Work on this particular creating that aha moment. It's hands and it's brains.
So our hands are connected into our brains in many different ways. And so with Lego Serious Play, as you know, Azim, we talk about hand thinking and hand knowledge. And it's like we're utilizing our hands as almost like a different way into our brain.
Hey there, and welcome back to EI Cafe with Azim. Before we dive into today's conversation, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Yes, you, for showing up, whether this is your first episode or you have been with me since the early days. I genuinely appreciate your time, your curiosity, and your willingness to grow. Now, here is something interesting I came across. Did you know that nearly 50% of podcast listeners tune in regularly but haven't actually hit the subscribe button? Which means there are good chances you might be loving the content but still missing out on the episode that could really spark a shift in your thinking, your leadership, or even your personal growth. So, if anything you have heard on this show has ever made you pause, reflect, or just feel, go ahead and subscribe on your favorite platform and drop a quick review. It truly helps others to discover the show, and maybe share an episode with someone who could use a dose of inspiration today. I am committed to making each episode more meaningful, more relevant, and truly worth your time. My promise to you, I'll keep showing up with honest conversation, inspiring voices, and ideas that matters to help you grow from inside out. All right, let's get into today's conversation. Greetings to you from Colombo, Sri Lanka. This is EI Cafe with Azim. I'm your host, Azim Sahera, Human Capital Specialist, Lego Series Play Facilitator, ICF Certified PCC Level Coach, an emotional intelligence and emotional culture practitioner. I'm one of the lead facilitators at Lumini Learning Solution. This weekly show helps you to explore the impact of emotional intelligence on our lives through engaging conversation with industry leaders, innovators, executive coaches, and thought leaders. We aim to inspire and empower you. In today's fast-paced, hyper-structured workplace, innovation often gets boxed in. Real creativity doesn't need a box. It's come from not from a rigid process. It emerged from play and playfulness. Exploration of safe environment where ideas can be generated. In this episode, we are diving into Lego Serious Play. Yes, one of my favorite part of it, and one of my very good connection who's going to join in. Those small colorful bricks, yes, those who don't know, yes, there's a small colorful bricks we could talk about. And of course, those small colorful bricks can spark a deeper conversation, build trust, and unleash the collective intelligence of teams in organization. We explore how this play can be a part of our journey in this process. So let me introduce my guest for today. Um, I had Michael Fearne, who is one of the leading voices in using Lego Serious Play to bring strategy, storytelling, creativity, life inside organization, and many other areas. He's the author of LSP Method book and founder of LSP Method. So today's topic is small bricks, big impact. How playfulness can fuel innovation and connection at work. On that note, let me welcome my guest. Michael, welcome to the cafe.
Oh, Azim, thank you. Excited to be here, particularly after that introduction. I'm energized. Looking forward to the chat.
So it's going to be a very playful conversation. A lot of stuffs are going to be focused on. So, Michael, organization talks about creativity, innovation, and it's fair enough. People talk about it, but one of the challenges we always see, and you can vouch for it. How do you create that environment? What are the tools and techniques? What are the methodology we can bring? Because you can't just ask people, "Hey, come up with creative idea." No, you give certain set of things because it's part of the neuroscience. It's part of the emotion fact. So
Mhm.
let's bring in this conversation about you. No,
Yeah.
what's inspired you to use the whole methodology of Lego Serious Play as a facilitation tools as part of your journey in yourself and in an organizer's context? Let's start from there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting you asked that around play and the tools that I use. So, I mean, obviously, it started a lot when I was a child. Like, in the world that I grew up in, I played with Lego, and always had that as my background. But then, you fast forward, you get into your high school here, I'm Australian, you can tell from my accent, you go into work, you forget about those things and then rediscovered in my early 30s, the idea of play in work as a means to reach those things that you mentioned, creativity and innovation. So, it was really almost like a born again play person. Like I discovered it again later in life. And obviously Lego Serious Play, which I'm very passionate about, is a great example of how to use play in those contexts to achieve what we're really there for, which is results. It's trying to get an outcome and play is a wonderful tool to do that. So yeah, it's came to it later in life. Oh,
It's really interesting to understand. Play always come from childhood, and you rediscover the age of 30. How
yeah.
cool is that?
Yeah. Well, there's one thing I say, Azim, like, I actually think that play in childhood is our natural stage. Like, I have, 2 young daughters, and they just play. They play, they play, they play, and that's really all they know about the world. And then it's almost like when it comes to schooling and work, we bring in this other thing, this work self, and our play self sort of it gets shrunk or it gets put off
Mm.
to the side. And I use it with adults in the corporate world. When I do that, I don't have to teach them how to play. Like, you just have to set the scene, you have to create the environment, and that play that they've known since childhood comes out. And of course, we're using it in different ways than my daughters use it, but it's about sort of leveraging and using those play characteristics that we all know, and we just don't utilize them. It's like, why not? Why not grab hold of them and use them for work and use them for our adult life as well?
Yeah, yeah. I think you're leading to my brilliant next question, and I mean, you know, yes, childhood is it's a playful area, but then again, when come to the age of 30 or a mid-career stage, bringing playfulness, some people feel like it's very awkward. Oh, is it the time to play, right? So I'm trying to build the connection of the safety. How this whole safety and connections in a corporate context. Let's put the term psychological safety.
Yeah.
How does whole piece of Lego series play can bring psychological safety and feel belonged in a team environment, and how we can connect the performance modes? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, the thing I'll start with, Azim, is what you said at the end, connected to the performance piece. So I think it's really important when I'm talking with clients, who are saying yes or no to wanting to do Lego Serious Play, but also people in the room. You always have to tell them the end in mind. Like, this isn't just play for play's sake and for fun and well being or whatever. Which all of that is very useful. But I go in with I want an outcome. I want you to have an outcome. I want the people in the room to have an outcome. So I think that's the first step. I think you have to connect it. And I think play in the past has struggled with that. It's been, "Well, let's do some fun stuff and maybe we'll get some benefits." So the first thing is I always focus on you've got to connect it to the outcome and performance. And then I think the working back from that, how do we as facilitators create that psychological safety, that space for people to play and explore and, try new things and really open up? Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get people to open up and say what they really think. Like, that's the key to psychological safety. And that's the key to creativity and to connection and to trust and to high performance. It's opening up. And so, Azim, in Lego Serious Play, we have a very set way we like to warm people up. Like, you've got to take the time to step people through. And, part of it is my facilitation style. And, all us facilitators have our own style, but it's very welcoming. It's very sort of energetic. I do say a lot of things at the start where I try and take a lot of the competitive language, with business, even within a business, but definitely between businesses. We're all about competition. We're all about striving, success, doing better. But I try and take a lot of that language out at the start, and I'm more about collaboration. I'm more about it's not good or bad. We're just asking questions, and you're, doing answers, and nothing is right or wrong. And it's very important with something like Lego to get to the point where people don't feel judged, and they don't feel like, oh, I've got to be good at Lego, or I've got to be, good at play or fun. It's like, no, everything you do in a Lego Serious Play session, the tool that I use, is valid. It's you expressing yourself, it's you opening up. And so I think once you sort of set that first 15, 20 minutes of, look, nothing's right or wrong, we just want to get it all on the table. Now, towards the end, when we need to sharpen it up to, performance and actions and change, well, that's when you can have a more robust discussion. But you've got to start with building that psychological safety, and you've got to start building that comfort and that openness at the start of the session.
I think what you're talking about, bring more connection, bring more belonging at the beginning of the session. So
Mm,
people start opening up, right? I think
yeah.
communication, the power of stories plays a vital role. The example I would like to always to pick is every time when I run this random challenge, take a couple of breaks and randomly talk about, and we shift the whole story around. Everybody starts sharing, and end of the session they say, "Hey, look, I'm not the only person going through struggles. Oh my
Yeah.
God, my colleague is going through." I asked, like, how long you guys know each other? They said, like, we know for 3 to 4 years, but how come you?
Yeah.
No, we never thought about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it gets to that particular extent so intense with the source plastic bricks. That's why I all love this particular whole piece.
Yeah.
Michael, at the early stage of the career, like when I was like to go to Sri Lankan companies, I say, hey, I have something called Lego Serious Play. You want to try it? The only thing they will say, like, no, we don't want to play with it. It's children, and nobody believed it. But for, for people like you who brings a lot of element to the corporate context, I think it's working now. People are believing in playfulness. Now
Yeah.
let's dive into this particular element. I would like to hear from you any moment. We talked about creativity. We talk about aha moment. When you run a workshop, like using Lego Serious Play in an organization, have you ever experienced unlocking an aha moment in a leadership or a strategy session? What is there anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, well, I'll think there's been so many. I'll think of a specific one, but it's interesting you mentioned aha moment, Azim, because one of the things that I started off as in learning and development as a trainer. And so the whole role of a trainer is, you create these courses and you're teaching people skills. I'm the trainer and I need to teach you. And I need you, Azim, to get my aha moment. As the trainer, I want you to learn about leadership. I want you to learn about communication skills. And so it was a very clear dynamic. And the thing I love about Lego Serious Play is what I'm trying to do is not get you to my aha moment. I'm trying to get you to your aha moment. And that person next to you, they can have their own aha moment. And the person next to them, they can have their own aha moment. And throughout the whole room. So, if I have a session with 20 people, I want 20 or 40 different aha moments from each person individually. And I think that's what you described before, where people are like, oh, I didn't know that you were struggling too, or I didn't know this. Like, I want everyone to have their own aha moment. It's not my aha moment. And so when I say that, like I try and think of a particular one from strategy, from leadership, and like there's so many. It's like they're micro aha moments. And it was interesting as in one person at the start of my Lego Serious Play journey said, they quizzed me and they said, oh, what's been invented from Lego Serious Play? And I was like, well, no one's invented the iPhone from Lego Serious Play. It's not the sort of tool where you go, oh, it's you, Azim, you had that one idea that just blew open the whole company and made us billions of dollars. What Lego Serious Play does is it gives everyone their own aha moment and it shifts everyone along. So in a leadership group and say in a strategy, you might get the CEO who has an aha moment. You might get the CFO who has their own slight different aha moment. And then what they do is they chat during the session, they chat after the session, and it's almost like a network of these aha moments that come together. which is very different from that. Perhaps with creativity, we think of that Einstein moment or that Steve Jobs moment where it's like brilliant. But what creativity actually is, it's like this groundswell of all these mini moments, mini aha moments that come together. And so that's what I'm trying to create when I do my sessions. It's for everyone to have their moments. I'm not sure that answered your question about a specific one, but there's been so many that
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I know it's very difficult to bring that thought process, because when you say aha moment, and look, you don't you can't innovate if there's no aha moment. I think that's what I hope believe. That aha moment is ah the light bulb moment with with
Yeah.
with the whole with experience comes in. And I do get how does that happen. But I want to really divert this a little bit deeper into that particular context.
Mm.
Michael, can you a little bit share for like our viewers and listeners who will watch this and listen? How does the science part work on this particular creating that aha moment? It's hands and it's
Yeah.
bricks. And how
Yeah.
does it work?
Yeah, well, I'll try and keep it brief because I actually I've written one book and the second book I want to write is on the science of Lego serious play. So I won't talk too long about it, but underneath Lego serious play, there's this beautiful mix of scientific foundations going on. One of them is definitely the hands. So our hands are connected into our brains in many different ways. And so with Lego serious play, as you know, Azim, we talk about hand thinking and hand knowledge. And it's like we're utilizing our hands as almost like a different way into our brain. So when we pick up a Lego brick, it's firing off, different things in our brain than if we're sitting back and talking and looking at a PowerPoint. So that's one of the first things is we're utilizing our hands, which gets us more access to our brain. We often get in flow. So people spend, most of my sessions at 2, 3 hours, sometimes an hour, but we get to 2, 3 hours and it goes by in a flash because people are in this sort of state of consciousness where they're like, they're building, they're hearing stories, they're connecting, and so they have this flow moment. Well, not even moment, there's this flow time where they're just in it. And what flow is it's sort of quietening down that sort of business meeting mind. Like, the thing that sort of chatters away and distracts us and it just allows you to be in the activity. And that's where a lot of creativity comes from, actually, is just being in the activity. So we get in flow. And then other ones like storytelling, we're all great storytellers at heart. It's in our DNA as humans.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
stories come out, you get different things. There's a whole bunch of other things I won't go on, but it's just time and time again. And play, just on the main topic of play, really play is about trialing, failing, exploring, discovering. And honestly, we don't do enough of that in any walk of life, but definitely not in business. And so by bringing in play, it allows us to try. It allows us to fail safely, see other people do that. So yeah, I'm going to stop because the science again is
Yeah, it's a huge area. I think it's important that I always believe these are I know every part is so valuable, but this when you start playing, you will explore and you know participant come back and say, "Hey, you said right. Our hands are amazing." One of the example I always bring is when any exams comes in, right? And when you sit for an exam and a difficult question comes in, how do you use our hands like scratching and nail biting and that's the science I always bring in terms of a context, and it really reflected to it. Now, you said about meetings, so you said about leaders embracing that particular whole piece. Now, let's come to the present. We're talking about a very fast paced business organizational environment. Everybody
Mm,
wants quickly, it's like instant results they expect.
yeah.
Now, in that context, what do you think? Leaders, what some of the leaders need to embrace um, such more creative methods to engage team and bring that creativity in that organization. What sort of a culture they need to create to have this? Yes, Lego serious play is important, but then again, keeping in that mind, how can they reflect something within the organization? Yeah, one way would be having a Lego serious certified facilitator. Yeah, yeah, there.
Well, I mean, there's 2 parts to that. So just on the Lego Serious Play stuff, look, I often say it takes a little while at the start to do Lego Serious Play. Like, it might be a 2-hour session, it might be a 3-hour session. You can do it quicker, but what I say is you invest that time, and this is what good leaders do. You invest that time, you get it back in the medium and long term because you're actually going down the right path. There's nothing worse than being quick but going down the wrong path. That's where you waste time. But if you can spend a few hours, exploring, discovering, hearing what everyone has to say, and then decide on the right path, then in the medium and long term, you get that time back tenfold because you haven't made the wrong decision to go around the wrong path. So I think with Lego Serious Play, it's this weird thing where it's slow at the start, fast in the medium and long term. I would say more broadly, outside of Lego Serious Play, how do you create a culture around that? It's really hard, but I actually think time is the key. And time is just there's no time. Everyone wants to do this, everyone wants to do that. But giving your workers the time to discover, the time to explore, and not, go off and, have days and days and days of just, doing whatever. But having these targeted times where you're saying, "Don't worry about that work. I know there's deadlines, but I want you to, go for a walk with a couple of other people. I want you to go into a different space. I want you to have that time to think differently." I think that's what you can do. And again, it's an investment up front, but it pays dividends in the medium and long term. I just think it's the brave manager, it's the smart manager that knows what that can lead to. But in this fast pace, it's hard. It's hard to justify that to yourself and to,
Yeah.
the people higher up. But those that do, reap the benefits.
And I think they were like, okay, what is the ROI you're going to bring this once we execute? Yeah,
It is, yeah. And look, it's a good question to ask. I always say to business people, ask the ROI. That's why I always start with the outcome and the performance and the action and the change for Lego Serious Play as my tool.
yeah.
Because that's what they're paying you for. That's what they're getting in to do. That's what they're spending their time on. So I'm a big embracer of, yeah, hit me up with the ROI question and let's make sure we hit that target that you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just trying to, before I move on to the last question of for the whole conversation, I'm just curiously asking, is there any moment, any experience you would like to share? Like, you went with the Lego series play and you felt stuck. You couldn't get that outcome right. People didn't understand what you're trying to do. Um, the reflection was not right. The outcome is not met. Is there an experience? And if that's yes, what would be your um, correction way of doing it? Right?
Yeah. It was. Two stories come to mind. So there's one I'll mention. But in the broader, I try not to judge each team on the outcomes that they want to achieve. Like some teams are here, so no, say some teams are here, and you do a Lego Serious Play or some other intervention, and they move this. The delta is just like a little. And then some other teams, you'll do the exact same method, almost the exact same sorts of questions, and the team will be here, and the results will be up here. And I said to myself, well, what's the difference? Is it me? Is it the method? What's happening? And sometimes one thing I had to realize, Azim, is some teams just need that. Like some teams might be stuck and you just need to unstick them and then they're away. And some teams are already good and they just go to great. And so the first thing is I don't try and prejudge the absolute outcome I want. I say, look, it's going to be better than when you started. How much we do depends on a lot of things. I'm going to do my best and I'm an expert in this method. I'm going to bring the team in. I'm going to facilitate them. But, we'll see where we get to. And think of it as a journey and a process rather than an outcome. But a specific instance, just quickly, my second Lego Serious Play session, 13 years ago. So it was with a C-suite, so CEO, CFO, and they got me in to do a 2-hour session around a communication issue. And so I went in there and I hadn't when I first learned the method, I hadn't been taught a lot of little tricks that I now know. So I had one big group of 12 people and as you know, Azim, doing 12 people at once, like you got to get in small groups. It's got to be 5 or 6. Anyway, so there was a lot of things I learned along the way, but it was right at the end, we were doing this group model and the CEO was in there and all his leadership team. And we are talking about the communication issue. And then right at the end, the CEO said, hang on a minute, I think we're making this too complicated. Here's what I think. And he spent the next 15 minutes telling us everything that he thought. And so everyone was standing back and I was a very new facilitator then. And I was like, what is happening? Um, what was interesting was I learned a lot, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But what was interesting was we did the session, it sort of, finished and I left. But what I heard out of that 12-person leadership group, what I heard was within 3 months, there were actually a couple of people that resigned from the leadership group because of that session. And I was like, oh, did I do something bad? But what it was, the communication issue that they were trying to tackle was the CEO. He was very authoritarian. He didn't listen to anyone. And so what I learned is that Lego Serious Play showed that in stark light. So there was a couple of people that went, okay, I'm seeing this for the first time. I'm seeing that the CEO had, and they obviously worked with the CEO, but then they just felt like they couldn't. And so I actually found that was a good income. And now some people might be listening going, Michael, that's not a good outcome. But it was, because what it meant was those people didn't wanna be there. The leadership group was better being away from them as well. And so the lesson I learned, Azim, from all that was what Lego Serious Play does, and many of these playful tools, is it just brings things up. It opens the door.
Open up.
And what that means is you can get somewhere so much quicker when everyone's telling their truth. Now, it might be, well, that means I'm gonna go, or it might mean we're gonna go for this service, we're gonna do this product, we're gonna beat our competitors. So I think the thing with Lego Serious Players is it opens people up. And I don't think there's anything bad that comes from that, because it's always a good outcome from that, no matter what the outcome is. Sorry, I went on with the story, but it was a very interesting one for my second
Yeah,
second.
it's a great experience, and that show the power of the small bricks, right? Just the small bricks opening up different avenues, different way of it, and that's where the whole magic lies on, and how people can really tune into that small bricks and bring a lot of story out,
Yeah.
and that's amazing, right? So
And, just,
here's
Azina,
yeah.
I've gotta cut in one more time. The many, many hundreds, almost thousands of sessions I've done since then, no one's resigned. It was I've had so many. Lego Serious Play is just such a joy to facilitate, and I get so many good outcomes. I do a lot of vision work, I do a lot of culture work, I do a lot of innovation work, and the things that come out, this is why I keep coming back 13 years later. What, 20 years later, I'm gonna be back
Yeah. Yeah,
because
you know what, Michael? When you say like person resigning, I'm wondering whether HR could hire us to fire people and hire people with Lego series.
well, you can use it in recruitment and performance reviews, but we
Yeah, let's not go there, right? So, uh, that's a good thought process, by the way. So, Michael, the last question for you: what would
Mm,
be your advice for those who would like to get on board as a facilitator in terms of Lego series play? That's one part of it. If it's
yeah,
not a facilitator, a team lead, a manager, a supervisor who leads a team wants to introduce playful technique
yeah.
into the team without losing its credibility. What are one or two ways you want to share?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, good question. I'd say like the gold standard, Azim, is around the world. There are many wonderful people that deliver certified, facilitators of Lego Serious Play, so a certification workshop. So you can actually go and get trained deeply in this method. So I would say that's the gold standard. So I recommend that for anyone, but definitely facilitators, coaches, and a whole host of other people. So that's the gold standard. For team leads and things like that, like, I wrote the book, The LSP Method. There are many resources that you can pick up, including the bricks themselves, and to have a go in sort of a low risk situation. So I always recommend people give it a go with their family or their friends about a nice, easy topic and nice, easy questions. I think that's probably the first thing that I would do. And then if you want to deepen your knowledge, there's just wonderful training all around the world. I know in Sri Lanka and here in Australia, there's wonderful people doing these certifications. And so I guess what I'm saying is there's a nice range of ways you can go depending on how deep you want to dive into it. But the first thing is experience it. I think is great. So get along, either get a certified facilitator in to run one, or see if you can do a meetup, or just get along to one, really see it in action. And as you know, Azim, once people see it, like, they see the magic, and they're hooks for life. And so you want to go deeper after that.
And Michael, that's why it's important to understand the process of facilitation piece also. It's
Mm.
important. Yeah, it's experiencing to how that works, but it doesn't mean that you have a piece of brick, doesn't mean that you can run the way you want. There is a process involved, and it's important. That's why your gold standard is referring to. Right. So, Michael, ready for the rapid fire?
Yes, yes, I'm
So,
excited for
so,
this
so,
one.
so,
I had no idea what's coming.
I'm going to throw four questions at you. I need very short answers. Question number Question number one. What's the first thing that comes into your mind when you hear the word playfulness?
Playfulness should be everywhere.
Brilliant.
Adults, old people, young people. It should be everywhere. Work, school, education. It should be everywhere.
Right. Second question. One Lego build that reflects your leadership style. What would be that one?
My leadership style. I've built many models in my time. I often build ones with pieces going out, like connections out. And so for me, it'd be about supportive connections, connecting others, I think is really my leadership style.
Brilliant. Question number 3. A sign that tell you a team is open to playful collaboration. What's a sign?
Oh, well, when they first come into the room, I have the Lego there. When I see them start to play already before the session, I'm like, we're on. But that's like some people don't. But when some people do, it's on. When I hear laughter, when I hear happiness, joy already before I even walk into the room, that's when I know it's going to be great.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I've seen that. And the last one. Your go-to activity to spark creativity during a mental block using Lego.
Wow. Interestingly for me, I do so much Lego serious play that it's not Lego serious play. So I live in a wonderful area in Australia, right in a forest. And so I go for a walk in nature. I think to think differently, you need different environment, different things. Often it's Lego serious play, but for me, at home, it's a walk in the forest.
There you go. That's the end of our rapid fire with Michael and Zapton. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of today's episode as well. Let me rephrase this closing remarks. Play is not a luxury; it's a necessity for every one of us. Organizations, schools, parenting. It helps us to grow, connect, and innovate. As Michael shows us, the smallest tool can lead to bigger shifts, either biggest failure or biggest success. When we allow people to build their thoughts and we empower them to own their ideas and co-create solutions. Whether you're a leader, facilitator, or just curious about transforming meeting in and then teams into powerful places, a powerful conversation, this episode will inspire you to build better together. Of course, if you like to get connected to Michael, of course, LinkedIn is freely available. Go and just follow him, and of course www.lspmethod.com, his website, and his book is also available. Please do get in touch and connect with him. So Michael, thank you very much for all your valuable time spending with us and then giving small but impactful nuggets for audience. And
Thank you, Azim. Thank you, Azim, for doing this. What you do with this podcast is amazing. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of EI Cafe with Azim. If this episode resonated with you, don't miss out this powerful conversation too. Episode number 113, Nurturing Creative Minds, Strategies for More Innovative Workplace with Dr. David Newman. Episode number 103, Playfulness, Igniting Creativity and Growth with Yazim Konta. Episode number 76, Innovation Culture is an investment with Mohammed Al-Tadra. Episode number 65, Can Lego be a game changer for educations with Imad Saif. Episode number 56, Playing Seriously with Innovation with Per Christiansen. Every episode is a step deeper into the power of emotional intelligence in leadership, teams, and life. If it sparked a reflection, a clarity, or an action, leave a review, share your thoughts, or pass it to someone who will get the benefit out of this. This is the EI Cafe with Azim. Checking out at the cafe, I am Azim Sahir. And until next time, tune into your emotions and turn them into insight. God bless you. Stay safe.